Hi everyone, Anthony Fantano here, the internet's busiest music nerd. Thank you for watching. And it's time for an album review. Machinedrum's Rooms. Machinedrum is the solo effort of electronic music producer Travis Stewart. This guy has recorded under some other names in the past. He currently has some new stuff out in the duo Sepulture, and the Machinedrum discography, as far as that goes all the way back to the early 2000s with the album Now You Know. But this guy doesn't have the following you would expect somebody would if they were creating music for over 10 years. He recently got a nice endorsement from Hudson Mohawk, but he's still not a big name in this genre. And maybe it has something to do with him kind of being a musical chameleon. His early stuff was influenced by a lot of hip-hop, instrumental hip-hop, kind of glitching it out, experimenting with it, and IDM. Every release after that would kind of switch lanes between being more hip-hop influenced or being more IDM influenced, and it kind of came to him even embracing that wonky hip-hop sound coming out of LA from producers like Flying Lotus on that album Want to Want To. It sounded like he was embracing dubstep a little bit on some of the tracks from that LP, but he went even deeper into that wonky sound on the mini LP he put out afterwards, Many Faces, on the first half of it. On the second half, he plays with a lot of house and two-step songs. But now, the sounds of future garage and this new sparse take on dubstep is hot. And now he's kind of doing something that could be compared to Joy Orbison, Burial, DL, Scuba. Like any other record in this style, there are a lot of broken, clunky, complicated beats that just click, tap, pop, heavy bass sounds rumbling away in the background, not the wub wub wub, but just a lot of thick synthesized bass. And there's a ton of atmosphere around the synthesizers, the vocal samples. But there is something very different about Machinedrum on this thing. He isn't very bleak. He isn't very atmospheric like a lot of artists chasing this style. He just saturates the mix with tons of different sounds and textures. And I would say it like kind of works in layers like a lot of electronic music does, you know, one sound on top of another sound like a lasagna or something like that. But this is like more of a 3D experience with sounds popping up all over the place. It's like a galaxy of different sounds with stars popping up here, here, back there, right in front of your face, which makes it kind of dizzying to listen to on headphones. It's really obvious that this new string of producers coming out of the UK is influencing this guy, but he really produces these tracks to be thick and cacophonous like a producer would who was making a drum and bass track or a jungle track in the 90s. But sometimes this dude's love of experimental hip-hop instrumentals does kind of come back to haunt some of these tracks a little bit, like with the very fat, clumsy, heavy beat that would totally fit in at Brainfeeder on the track Sacred Frequency. The song Universe actually even sounds like something Flying Lotus would do, sans the auto-tuned vocal samples. I do like the future garage sound that Machinedrum is emulating on some of these tracks, but once he starts breeding that style with other things, some real Frankensteins kind of pop out. Like GBYE, where this guy really goes trigger happy with the vocal samples and the auto-tune. There's no possible way to escape them. It's like really overkill. It's like taking a bazooka to go deer hunting. Still, despite what genre hopping this album does, it comes off pretty cohesive, pretty solid stylistically, and that's mostly because Machinedrum makes sure that the sounds that are being used are always high quality. He really lays into these vocal samples, keeps those consistent, and every single one of these tracks just keeps a really constant groove. My main issue is that some of these tracks just function simply on throwing as much sound out there as possible without really placing them in a really interesting way. And at first I was like, yeah, this is fun, this is colorful, this is overwhelming, I like it. But the more I visited this record, the more I kind of saw through the clouds, the parting clouds, the more I kind of sorted out the clutter, the more I realized the magic just kind of was disappearing for me. The title track is a good example, which, you know, I thought was pretty good at first, but now that I have everything on it all kind of separated and interpreted, I'm just... Still, there are some standouts on here. I think it's a pretty solid release overall. I just wish it stuck more truly to these dubstep and future garage sounds that made Machinedrum kind of turn in this direction in the first place, because to me those are the best tracks on here. I think we should ask Cal Chuchesta what he thinks.
If this is a dubstep, I'd like to hear some dub run or dub jump.
And that's why I hate him. What do you think of this thing? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Why? And what do you think I should review next? Anthony Fantano, Machinedrum, Rooms, forever.